Yes, plenty more to come on Sportsworld, and a big welcome to Keith Hillier as always, and a special guest today, David Hayes. Thanks for coming in, Keith and David.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Bruce. And a big day of racing here yesterday at Flemington, with Bart Cummings winning the Newmarket for the 8th time to equal his Melbourne Cup tally.
It was a great performance, wasn't it? David, you must obviously understand what a performance that is for Bart. 8 Melbourne Cups, and now to win really the sprinting equivalent of the Melbourne Cup, the Newmarket 8 times as well.
Just a great effort, Bruce, and you know, he gets his horses right on the right days.
I've often wondered if Shaftesbury Avenue and Better Loosen Up were in a mile race together at Flemington. I reckon he's about the only horse in Australia that I'd maybe back to give Better Loosen Up a real run for his money over a mile at the moment. Well, which way would you go, Keith?
I'd wait for age, I'd go with Better Loosen Up for sure. But I think Shaftesbury Avenue is developing into a good horse, and he's just going to get better. He's going to be the one to beat again in the Doncaster, isn't he? He
surely is. David, have you got a big opinion of this horse?
Oh, yes. He can sprint with the best sprinters in the land, and he showed in the Ampole he can run a great mile. So I think Better Loosen Up would have to be right at his best to beat him.
That's interesting. You might clash in the Cox Plate next year. Who knows? Or this year, later this year.
Strangely, Bruce, yesterday at Flemington in the Newmarket handicap, punters tended to shy away a little from Shaftesbury Avenue because he drew barrier 1. And Bart Cummings remarked, he said, "I've been waiting for 40 years to get better odds because a horse has drawn barrier 1. And it was not only, it seemed to help him, I think, win the race.
Surely in the end. 11 to 2 to 4s, Keith. A few of them backed him.
Yes.
It was a big go in the end. Let's go to the Newmarket and have a look at the race. Great race, the big sprint in Australia.
Since the introduction of metric weights in 1973, no horse has won Australia's greatest sprint with more than 56.5. The last horse to carry more weight than Shaftesbury Avenue to victory was Gold Stakes 32 years ago. Shaftesbury Avenue shared top weight with the mighty Planet Ruler, with another superb sprinter, Redelva, having just a half a kilogram less on 57.5. The favourite was the brilliant Sydney mare Joanne. Shaftesbury Avenue was the best back runner. Barrier 1 was expected to be a disadvantage. It proved to be a winner. Rather than being hemmed in, Shaftesbury Avenue had a clear run all the way.
Planet Ruler's a long way back as they race down with 250 to go. Redelva's taken the leader. Joanne is coming after Redelva, and here's Shaftesbury Avenue on the inside, flying home. Shaftesbury Avenue on the inside has taken the lead with about 100 metres left to go. Redelva fighting back on the inside. Shaftesbury Avenue in front of Redelva in the final stages. Century God down the outside. Shaftesbury Avenue will win the Newmarket. Shaftesbury Avenue a long neck Redelva. Century God has run third.
Shaftesbury Avenue's victory completed a unique treble. The Honda, the Lightning and the Newmarket in the one season. And it was the 8th Newmarket victory for the remarkable Bart Cummings.
Darren Gauci proving an able substitute for injured jockey Jim Cassidy. Yeah, he is very confident. He looked at the track during the day and also going to the post in the previous race, and it was his opinion on the fence was as good as anywhere. In fact, it might have been a fraction better. And finally, Bart, is it true that you may aim Shaftesbury Avenue at the Cox Plate next spring? Never heard of that one, but it sounds a good idea.
Thanks, Bart.
He's in the Doncaster's next run, Keith. Then he'll have a break. I think it was Jim Cassidy made that comment after the Honda Stakes. Would he get 2,000 metres, do you think? Probably not as good as a mile, I don't think, but still, you never know. He might strengthen up. Each preparation does become stronger and better, so I wouldn't dismiss it.
What do you think, David? Do you think the horse may get 2,000 metres eventually?
I think he's such a brilliant sprinter. It's hard to imagine him getting 2,000 metres, but it's hard to underrate a horse of his ability.
Planet Ruler yesterday, he's won 2 Gadsdens. He looked as if he was going to put himself into the picture about 300 or 400 metres from home.
Yes, Michael had him in a position similar to Hutchison did in the Gadsden, but they ran 1:11, and when Planet Ruler fires down the straight, they run brilliant times. And just with the sting out of the ground, the horse just failed to have that acceleration.
Bruce, I think that Shaftesbury Avenue will be Doncaster favourite now. Interestingly, only one horse in the last 50 years has won the Newmarket Doncaster Handicap Double, and that was maybe Mahal in 1978, also trained by Bart.
Yeah, so he certainly knows how to do it. Well, the Blood Horse Breeders' Stakes was the other big race yesterday. Group 2 race for the fillies worth $125,000. An outsider here, Excited Angel, at 33 to 1.
To the straight, they come down to the 400-metre mark. Excited Angel to the inside, being tackled by Take the Raider. Angel's Wings trying to get through and getting out into the trouble now on the outside of the Severe, and they were followed next by My Brilliant Star, but Excited Angel is still the leader. She's going strongly. Angel's Wings under the whip, and they're followed by Take the Raider, and on the outside, Spanish Gem from a long way back. Excited Angel is going strongly in the final stages. Excited Angel still in front of Angel's Wings, who's trying to pick her up but won't make it, and Excited Angel is too good in the run home and won it nicely. Excited Angel by a length to Angel's Wings. Tight for third, probably Spanish Gem.
And the side, Don't Say Halo's having a tremendous run at the moment.
Yes, Excited Angel, Angel's Wings, a heavenly result for bookmakers there, Bruce. Punters lost heavily on the race, and Mark Sestich was a loser also. He spent a few minutes on the racetrack at Flemington, but much longer in the steward's room. He was rubbed out after his Newmarket ride and rubbed out again after that ride on the runner-up. Stewards made the sentences concurrent, and he will return on March 28th.
Well, a day he won't forget. What about Desert Jewel? You trained the favourite there, David. She didn't fire a shot, did she?
No, Bruce, she pulled up quite sore in front, and we're having her checked out today, but I think you just forget she went around.
OK, well, there's a lot of rivalry between David Hayes and Lee Friedman, the stable. Lee took Superimposed to Sydney, and he's won 2 Group 1 races now, the Chipping Norton and the Ranvet. Were you surprised, David, that he didn't stay here and try and take you on in the Australian Cup tomorrow with Better Loosen Up with his horse Superimpose?
No, I wasn't, Bruce. You know, they were races to be won in Sydney. The weight for age form isn't quite as strong, and when he was beaten in the Orr Stakes, I think it was a very sensible move, really. And
another point on that too, Bruce, those races have been run. Superimpose has earned collective prize money equal to first prize for the Australian Cup, so he's done it already.
Yes, he's really placed this horse very well. He's a super horse everywhere, but I think he's better than ever in Sydney. Let's have a look at him in the Ranvet Stakes.
It's Waikiki, the leader. Strokes on the outside, having another shot at the New Zealand mare. Dr. Grace in third place. He wants to drop the bit. He's being hard-ridden now. And then Royal Creation, Superimpose, is starting to sneak up behind those leaders. And Fill the Bill is last of the 6 as they turn for home. Superimpose goes 4 deep on the turn. He looks to be travelling comfortably as they straighten up. In the stretch, and Strokes put the head in front of Dr. Grace. Royal Creation not getting a lot of room. Beedman hasn't popped the question yet on Super. Now he does. And Superimpose on the outside raced up to hit the front at the 200 mark. Royal Creation getting through into second place, but Superimpose quickly beat off Royal Creation. He wanted to duck in a bit, but he is striding away, and he adds to his magnificent record, Superimpose. He won pulling up over Royal Creation. 6 lengths away third, Dr. Grace, followed by Fill the Bill.
Yes, he's got a remarkable record, this horse. Darren Beedman, the jockey yesterday, and he spoke to Cameron Williams after the race and just pointed out the difference between riding a top liner and a horse that's not quite so good.
It's like driving a Mini and then jumping into a Rolls Royce. You can't compare them. He's certainly a very class horse, and you only got to look at the amount of prize money that he has won.
Yeah. Now, you're handling him during his Sydney campaign. What's the next step with him? Well,
they're just a bit undecided at the moment, sort of talking together about whether to run him in the Doncaster or the BMW, but I'm not prepared to make my point public, but I'll have a talk to them and just give my opinion anyway.
And Keith, I wonder just which way he will go Superimpose. BMW over 2,400 or the Doncaster over 1,600?
I think he'll go for the BMW. I spoke with Lee Friedman this morning, Bruce, and he tended to hint that the BMW might be a suitable race. And one of the reasons is that he'd like a crack at Better Loosen Up at that distance, 2,400 metres. He thinks that that might be the distance for his horse to beat Better Loosen Up, David.
David, I've got a feeling the Japan Cup was over 2,400, wasn't it?
Yes, Bruce, and there were some pretty good stays in that race. He's a very strong stayer, and I think he'd run 2 miles, to be honest.
It's an interesting thing. Now, Lee's using Darren Beedman on Superimpose. Darren Gauci writes him down here. Do you have a philosophy on using Sydney jockeys in Sydney races? Do you think they have an advantage over Melbourne jockeys, or do you stick with Michael Clark in the big races up there?
I think a good jockey's like a good horse. They're good anywhere.
Fair enough.
If they've got... I think there's 10 jockeys in Australia that could be riding Superimpose or Better Loosen Up and winning. Any of the top riders, as long as they ride them, you know, sensibly and know their horse. That Michael is right, does have a great affinity with the horse. He just times the run brilliantly, but I think a good jockey will ride winners wherever they are.
Fair enough. Well, Darren Beedman's a good jockey. He not only rode Superimpose, he rode a 66-to-1 winner in the other Group 1 race, the Orlando Wines Classic, Quicksilver Sydney. This is a terrific finish.
It's Domino just the leader over Queen Zenobia coming around the corner. Ice Cream Sunday makes a line of 3. 4 deep as Whiston, 5 deep as A Little Kiss. Ricochet Rosie had to go 10 wide on the turn. Into the straight now, and Queen Zenobia took over from Ice Cream Sunday. Whistler's trying to get to them. Then Quicksilver Cindy, followed by Twiglet running on strongly. At the 200, Ice Cream Sunday just led Queen Zenobia. Whistler's coming at them, followed by Quicksilver Cindy. Ice Cream Sunday tackled by Whiston. Quicksilver Cindy has burst through the splits, and Quicksilver Cindy got up to win the Orlando. Now there are horses all over the shop for the placings. It's Whiston, just Trish flying home with Bassie's Pride.
Keith, one of those races where there are probably a lot of unlucky stories to be told, a very competitive event.
Yes, and I think there'll probably be future winners from those just behind the place getters there, and more close contests in that class, Bruce.
Beachside was going to run in that race, David, your 3-year-old filly. Unfortunately for you and her connection, she's broken down.
Yeah, she hasn't broken down, but she's had a setback.
Right.
She was getting led off the pony and tripped over getting led, and she overreached and hit a front joint and cut it open, and it unfortunately went into the joint capsule, which meant that we had to do some radical surgery, and that's put her out for the autumn. I think you know, she's a late maturing filly, and she'll come back a lot better in the spring for the break.
She's the horse that David told me was the sleeping giant, and I forgot to tell you about, Keith, remember?
Remember? That's something I'll never forget.
OK, the next big event was the Far Lap Stakes. No Far Laps in this. This is for 3-year-olds over 1,500. The New Zealander, Be Happy.
500 out, Friends Venture led over Blazing Anchor. Jack Attack has whipped up quickly on the outside, and then Meg's Ego followed by New Acquaintance and Dereco right behind the leading pack as they turn the corner. Marinella Force very wide, and so is Let's Hurry. In the straight, 300 out, Jack Attack has raced up to tackle Friends Venture, and at the head of the others, Blazing Anchor followed by Be Happy, and then New Acquaintance, and further out is Marinella running on strongly. At the 200 mark, there are chances galore. Friends Venture, Blazing Anchor, Jack Attack, Be Happy claiming them on the outside. The New Zealander, Be Happy is going home the better. Rattling home is Bold Rancher down the outside, but Be Happy beat Bold Rancher with Marinella third.
Brian Hibbert, who's been seen in Australia plenty of times winning there. Keith, Bold Rancher in Melbourne didn't look quite up to that class, so I've got a feeling that form's not all that good.
No, and he should have won yesterday because he was tardy out of the gates and he rattled home. So if that's the case, and he's not really top class down here, I think even his connections would admit that. He's handy, but that, I agree with you, Bruce, that is not top company there.
Well, we see the Rosehill Guineas next week, and Surface Paradise will be running in that, and it's going to be interesting to see which way they go with Triscay. David, would you be tempted if you were training Triscay to aim her at the Derby rather than the Oaks? I mean, Keith said last week he felt she was going so well, and the Colts weren't all that good this year.
I think she can pick up so much money going for the easy option. Up to 2,000 metres, I think you wouldn't care who you took on with Triscay, but there is a query at 1.5 miles, and I'd go for the easy option and run in the Oaks.
Fair enough, OK. The Star Kingdom Stakes, terrific performance here by Kessam first up. He'd won the Hong Kong Cup at his last start. David was up there with one of his runners, and Kessam was successful over Liverstoner Lane. Let's have a look at this performance. First up over 1,100.
Into the straight, Lecce down on the fence, West Dancer in the middle, Varicos 3 deep, going up to them quickly now. Then Wonga's Joy Imperative right down the outside is running on well. To the 200, Harris is getting busy on the favourite Varicos. He's taking a long time to get the better of West Dancer. Varicos and West Dancer fighting back. There's nothing between them. Then Lecce down, the Bullfighter and Sanction. Halfway down the straight, Varicos, West Dancer, the Bullfighter, Sanction. And look at Kessam, he might beat them all. Kessam has come from second last and he got up to win right on the line. An amazing performance. Kessam got up to beat the Bullfighter. Sanction in a photo with Varicos, close up West Dancer.
Well, he broke the track record, and I just wonder about Kessam for the Doncaster Handicap.
Oh, top chance. He's tough, he's adaptable, and it doesn't matter what stage of a campaign, he always produces a big run, Bruce. He's a very good horse, a bit like his dad, Belmarino.
Yeah, what a great horse he was. A very good training performance yesterday to produce that horse first up after the Hong Kong Cup. The same performance you did with Better Loosen Up after the Japan Cup. And David, what about the Hong Kong Cup? Do you think that's got a future for Australian horses?
I think it has. It's got a great atmosphere, and it's an international event, but it's not like the Japan Cup. It's a restricted race, and Kessam really is a Group 1 horse in Australia that hasn't won one and was very well qualified.
OK, talking of qualifying, Turst and Bold Promise did that yesterday in spectacular style in the slipper trials. Firstly, the Todman slipper trial, and let's have a look at this colt Turst.
The turn, Rory's Impulse, the leader, by nearly 2 lengths on Jim's Bet, who's under pressure. Terse on the outside, about to move to second. And then Delphinus and Guest in time. Di had a look to the right, a look to the left as Terse cruises up to them. And Terse shot to the lead, coming to the 200 mark. Quickly put 2 lengths on Jim's Bet, getting to second. And then Delphinus, followed by Rory's Impulse and John Pilo. But here comes Terse, one of the top Golden Slipper candidates, and he's going to make hacks of the opposition in the Todman. He won pulling up by 7 lengths on the line. Now second is Jim's Bet and third Delphinus, followed by John Pilo.
Well, Shane Dye rode Terse. A half an hour later, he got on Bold Promise, who's been the favourite for the Golden Slipper for many, many weeks. And let's have a look at this performance and compare them, Terse and Bold Promise.
To the turn, 450 to go. Maskin led, the baldy face, Vionnet in second spot. Dye's allowing Bold Promise to stride 3 deep around those on the corner, and last of them is Supernatural as they turn for home. Maskin is the leader, but Vionnet and Bold Promise are about to pounce. Bold Promise looks to be travelling a lot better than Vionnet at the moment. Coming to the 200 mark, Vionnet, Bold Promise on the outside. Dye's got a shaker up now. Vionnet wants to hang in a bit under pressure, and Bold Promise gets the upper hand and is starting to draw clear in the last bit. Vionnet sticking on gamely, but Dye's giving this filly a very easy run to the line, and she wins by a length to Vionnet. Maskin stuck on well for third.
Well, we know that David Hayes has enjoyed remarkable success in his first season as a trainer. Sterling Smith is a nephew of Tommy Smith. It's also his first season. He's got Bold Promise, the Golden Slipper favourite, and after the race he was comparing her performance with Terse with Cameron Williams.
Well, this is the name of the game, the last 600. You don't go on the first 600, you go on the last 600, and she's got that beautiful acceleration at the end, and she wasn't asked to do much. I think Shane shaked her up once or twice, and she knows where the line is. And, you know, we just keep our fingers crossed for the next 2 weeks and nothing goes wrong with her, and hopefully Mick will be okay, and, you know, we can win the big one.
Yes, win the big one. Mick Dittman hopefully back on Bold Promise. Keith, Terse and Bold Promise yesterday, they ran about the same time. Bold Promise coming home the last 600, fractionally better.
Yes, I think that was very important, Bruce, and it sort of belied what we saw in the race. Bold Promise ran the last 600 in 34.7, I think, or 30. Anyway, it was about 0.4 of a second faster than the colt. And I think that she will improve, and I was slightly, I think you disagree, but I was slightly more impressed with Bold Promise yesterday than Terse.
Yeah, I'm not convinced with... she's very good, and she's won 5 out of 5, but I'm just not convinced yet that she's the real thing. David, you've got Canonise and Razor Rhythm. Are they both still going Golden Slipper way?
Yes, Bruce. I think Razor Rhythm, you absolutely just have to forget she raced. And in fact, we're giving her a blinker trial on Tuesday because the first time she was in a field, she didn't like it much. And in a Golden Slipper, they race very tight, so we'll put blinkers on her. No one will get a chance to see her much before the Golden Slipper, but if she runs, she'll be very hard to beat.
We better get your phone number in Sydney.
Well, what do you mean if she runs, David? Is there a doubt?
No, there's no doubt, but I mean, if we... no doubt whatsoever she'll run,
right.
But when she gets up there and settles in on
and race blinkers for the blinkers for the
yeah,
first
if we
time.
run it in blinkers, that's what I'm saying, yeah.
It's a very significant move, that one.
Canonise, will it run before the Golden Slipper?
No, they'll both go straight into the race. Canonise, I think the more racing we do with him, the less speed he'll have, and we'll try and keep him a little bit fresh, like we did for the Blue Diamond. And he's a horse that hasn't got the explosive acceleration as those two, but he's very tough, and his last furlong can be as strong as any in the race anyway.
Let's have a look at the market on the Golden Slipper. This is after yesterday. 7-4 Bold Promise, 13-2 Big Dreams, who'd won the week before, then Vionnet, Cloudlet, Razor Rhythm. Gee, Terse's big odds at 14s and Canonise at 10-1. So, Keith, you want that 7-4?
No, I'd like the 14s each way tiers at those odds. Cloudlet's going to Kembla Grange during the week to run in the Brambles. But Vionnet shouldn't be ahead of Terse in betting order there.
No.
There's no way.
Completely agree. For the first time with you, Keith. We'll take a break and we'll look at the Australian Cup after this.